All right, a long-awaited tier list. I have no idea when this is going out because as of recording, I have 8 videos scheduled to go on the channel. I will, a lot of those are trap guides, certainly not all, but I will try to get this out at a reasonable time. Regardless, Outlanders were highly requested. If you guys don't know, I've been doing tier lists. These are just for fun. These are all my, very informed, but my opinion. I have seen that lots of expert players have weighed in on the tier lists I've made, and every single person is going to have a different list. I'll try to explain myself clearly. Just know that if I don't put any of your favorite heroes in S tier, it doesn't mean they're bad. The actual tier list does not exist in-game. It's all circumstantial, and it depends on your playstyle. For your playstyle, you might think Cyberclops is the S tier best hero in the entire game. I don't agree with that. However, personally, I don't think Cyberclops holds its own in the end game. It's pretty all right in the mid to late, but in the 164 players, if you're running Cyberclops, we might laugh at you. So that's why I'd put him in like the A or B tier. So that kind of stuff is gonna happen, and I don't want people to get upset and not realize that this is just for fun, and it's just my opinion. All right. So, since we started off with Cyberclops, I am going to put him in the high A tier. I think he's a very versatile, very useful hero. With the right loadout, you can get a 3-second cooldown on that. Like I just explained, personally, I'm not putting him in S tier. This is an informed opinion. We tested him recently. It's not S tier. So, all right. Let's continue on with the top left. Ambush Buzz. If I'm not mistaken, I just looked at some of these heroes. If I'm not mistaken, was Ambush the one that did some of these I'm not even going to know, and typically that's a bad sign. If there's a hero I'm not aware of, it's because eliminating 6 enemies in 10 seconds gives you an extra phase shift charge. That is not that useful. I have used her in dungeon loadouts for like a quicker cooldown and more charges, but it's like a D tier. I think that's a very situational perk that's not that important. I'm going to get rid of a couple of S tiers right away. You know, is that more fun? No, let's go slowly. Archaeologist, easy S tier. I mean, she is a fundamental farming hero. She reduces the anti-material punch, that charge punch cost, and that's I don't think anybody, you know, I'm gonna put her right next to, no, we'll get Fossil Stealthy up there later. Azealia Clark gives you 15.5%, I believe it's ability energy damage. Let me get that exact, just so that we're all on the same page. Ability energy damage, 15.5%. It's pretty okay. It's not one of the bigger buffs in the entire game, and it's strictly ability energy. I'll put her in high B tier for now, just because it's a nice perk to have. It's one you don't want to forget about, but it's not some fundamental game-changing perk. Her commander perk makes your shock tower explode, which is arguably not even that good, and the team perk she provides is very useless in our current state of the game. So I'm going to put her in B tier for now, very mediocre. I'm going to put Beetle Jess in S tier because she buffs your SMG and AR crit damage by 75% in support, 225% in the lead. That is insane. It's really, really strong, and that's all I want to say about that. It's just a fundamental hero to the game. Who is not a fundamental hero is Bloodfinder AC. Let me just double check. That's damage from anti-material charge, correct? Yes. So it's not, we've tried. I've tried putting him in loadouts. It's like a D here. It's not that much damage. Anti-material charge is fairly weak in our current state of the game, and yeah, if you can find a use for him, go ham, but I was not impressed at all. Clip, again, S tier. She just gives you more loot for the same amount of farming. It's the easiest win we've ever seen. She is probably one of the best heroes ever added to the game, in the entire game. Not even just an Outlander S tier list, but like in the whole game. So she gives you, I don't know, Cottontail Eagle Eye gives you, I just checked her name, gives you exploding egg bombs after phase shift, or like right when you phase shift. It's pretty good. I'll put her in C. Again, you're not exactly, she's a reskin of old hero from pre-work. What are we talking about? Shock tower already sucks. The explosion. Okay. Archer's yelling about Azealia, I think. I don't know. I don't want to get distracted. She gives you explosions when you phase shift. It's pretty all right. I've used it in like dungeon speedrunning, but it's, you know, yeah, C tier. All right, so Crossbones Barrett, I mentioned him in essentially every video ever because coconuts are insane. If you don't know about coconuts somehow, then let's get into it quick. You can research him without a voucher, which is a major win. He gives you a 20% chance to find coconuts. They give you essentially, I think it's roughly 30% of your health instantly. You can hold it in your hotbar. It does replace a weapon. I know, looting it's a little annoying. Max Pug, thank you for following. But that healing, I know. How could I suggest that coconuts are good? But that healing is insanely good. It heals you over the course of another 30 seconds. It's so nice. And it gives you a 16% damage bonus. As if the insane healing wasn't enough, it gives you a freaking damage bonus, which affects abilities. So that'll buff your minigun, your shock tower, not your Teddy, because Teddy's kind of bugged. It should buff your Teddy, but it doesn't. Dragon Slash, all that. Coconuts are stupid good. Stupid good. They improve every loadout they're in. Tex, thank you for following. I record these in my stream overlay because I do this stuff with Twitch, but I know it does interrupt the video a little bit. Sanguine Dusk, my old queen, used to use her all the time. Then the hero rework came around, and she heals you when you phase shift through enemies. I am going to go ahead and turn off alerts for this video. Stiv, thank you for following. At least the audio. So she gives you healing when you phase shift through an enemy. It's not that much. I'll put her in C because she's a pretty mediocre hero. You don't want to forget she exists, but if they ever buff how much damage, if they ever buff how much health she gives you, she does actually damage the enemies. That's the vampiric effect, but it's not a lot. If they ever buff that, that's an insanely good hero. And I am going to be regarding phase shift as stronger than you might think in this game, simply because of Chaos Agent. I know that this is situational depending on your playstyle, but being able to instantly reload makes any hero related to phase shift very useful if he's in your loadout. I try to look at like the grand scheme of the game when it comes to stuff like that. So even if you're not using Chaos Agent, I think it's not a good thing to forget that he exists. So, Enforcer Grizzly is also the exact same as Jingle Jess. These two heroes are identical, and for that matter, Metal Team Leader is a starter pack hero. These are all the exact same hero. They buff your health, they buff your Teddy duration by 12 seconds in the lead, 4 seconds in support, and it's really strong. Again, my words about Teddy should explain why they're not in S tier, but A tier is definitely where they belong because that infinite uptime Teddy is nuts. I made a whole video on it. I'll maybe try to remember to link it below. There would be a lot of links in the description if I linked every video related to Outlanders, but I made a video on speedrunning encampments and how to get the most BR XP. It was essentially a long video dedicated to Teddy builds, and I will also add before we move on, Metal Team Leader, pay to win, is slightly more overall health and like Teddy damage than these two. I don't know why. It's not that much, but she is technically just a direct upgrade, even if it's only slight. So that's something to know. I am going to go... that sound alert's still going. I am going to go ahead and put Field Agent Rio in D tier. She gives you like a phase pulse every time you shoot sometimes. It's not that much. I've heard people who tried to make her useful, but I'm only going to put her in D tier because Red Willow belongs in F tier. In fact, Archer went ahead and specifically updated this tier list with an F slot because Outlanders are so good in this game. I think there's only like maybe one hero that regards F. She gives you damage after you phase shift, and it's such a disgustingly low amount of damage that it's unusable. If they, again, ever buff that damage, Red Willow could be an insane hero, but they haven't. So in their current state of the game, F is where she belongs. Fireflower Eagle Eye, another D tier. She gives you fireworks after phase shift. It's pretty not strong. It's fun, but nothing super serious. Flash AC, however, I'm going to put in A tier. It's a little high. But he shortens the cooldown of phase shift, and it's so good. I use him for dungeon speedrunning. And if you're running a loadout that's activating, the reload with Chaos Agent, and you're taking advantage of that, phase shift in general is really good for getting around the map. So he's fantastic for mobility, speedrunning dungeons, activating Chaos Agent, and it's just so good. It's such a universal perk. It's very, 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 very good for A tier. Archer wants me to put Fragment Flurry in S tier. So again, I don't think any hero related to Teddy is necessarily deserving of S tier. High A tier, yes. Extremely useful, no doubt. All the Teddy lovers out there, I see you. I know how strong Teddy is. S tier Archer, I don't know about that. I know that she affects Teddy and Shock Tower, but S tier, I don't know. High A tier for sure. Fragment Flurry is great. She, for those of you who don't know, give you a fragment charge, which is for Teddy and Shock Tower, reduces their cooldown and makes them use no energy when you activate them. And I know, seriously, she gives you one of those every 13 eliminations. So if you're getting constant kills and she's in your commander slot, it's an extremely infinite Teddy and Shock Tower for that matter. So it's a really, really good hero, but S tier, I don't know. When Stealthy's up there in S tier, it's kind of hard to do that. Now, Stealthy, Archaeologist, and Clip are essentially your big 3 farming heroes, in my opinion. I say my opinion because Pathfinder will come into play in a little bit. These are your 3 anti-material charge heroes. Either one of these can go in high S. I don't think any one of these is better than the other. They all have their use case. I will put Archaeologist in the bottom, though, because Clip just buffs overall farming material loot. It's super useful. Stealthy, giving you constant energy generation, is useful for way more than just farming, by the way. He is really, really good for spamming certain melees that use heavy attacks, and his constant energy generation is great for that. And it makes him more universal than just farming, but yeah, S tier is exactly where he belongs. Gumshoe is right next to Fragment Flurry. Gumshoe gives you a 30% damage bonus to fragment abilities, and I'm going to clear something up real quick. So 3 of the S tiers are farmers. Yeah, this game is expensive. I've been making trap guides on my channel. I'm gonna back up a bit just to defend this point. I've been making trap guides on my channel, and I've been getting some saltier than I would have expected comments, I know, regarding how many materials and traps I use in my tunnels. I don't necessarily do ultra efficient best tunnels you could ever create in these videos. They're more or less basic guides on how to do your tunnels. And you will never, ever, ever not need traps. So farming is a fundamental part of this game. And in the way that I view it, it's basically your quote-unquote money makers. You know, in real life, how money is essentially something we need to survive in our world. Anything that is related to making money would be an S tier, you know. So anyway, farming is too fundamental. All of them are S tier. Let me back up again. So Gumshoe gives you a 30% damage bonus to fragment abilities. That is Shock Tower and Teddy. As far as I'm aware, this is all secondhand information. It has been tested to find that you don't actually need to have a fragment to get that 30%. So she is essentially a flat 30% to Shock Tower and Teddy always. That is insanely good if you're running a Teddy build, and is very deserving of that A tier slot. All right, Blazer Stealthy. So this is S tier damage, but depending on how you use him. Let me show you what's going on here, and why I'll explain why I don't love him. So Blazer Stealthy gives you a whopping 105% damage bonus for 4 seconds after a phase shift, and it's a lot. But phase shift means you are every 4 seconds, mind you, constantly resetting your position. You have to re-aim at your targets, you know, get back on track. You're jarring yourself constantly. And he's only really practical in a specific loadout where you're using, let me actually just show it. If you go to the team perk options, there is a loadout, team perk option, let me find it, shifting gears, where it essentially decreases your range and gives you more fragment charges for phase shift depending on how many Outlanders you're using, and that range decrease can make him a little more practical. However, that one loadout is not I don't think that's worthy of any kind of S tier treatment. So I'll say he's a really good A tier hero. I'm not putting this in any super specific order. I'm just gonna put him in low A tier, I guess. He's super useful if you're utilizing shifting gears and Chaos Agent, but in general, I don't know about S tier. I want to put him high up because I see his merit, but yeah. Jilly Teacup, she gives you instant crit or 100% crit on your first shot with Teddy. I'll just throw her up here with the other Teddy heroes because Teddy's nuts. Akuna Matata makes it so that when you use your Seismic Smash, it stuns enemies. It's whatever, C tier. Useful if you're running Seismic Smash. Not really a support perk unless you're running a Seismic Smash loadout. It's not a big deal. I will put Mainstage Quinn in a surprising S tier. Any hero that activates Totally Rockin' Out is S tier in my opinion. It's a very, very useful ability, and I don't know what else to say. Impossibility Matrix essentially means whenever you're using a fragment, it reduces the cooldown of your abilities by 10%. Very useful. Throw them up there with the Teddy heroes because anything related to Teddy is A tier easily. Also, those wafers don't necessarily just activate Totally Rockin' Out. They activate Rockin' Rift, so she'll up your damage and attack speed even if you're not running the team perk. It's super useful. Not my personal playstyle, but I'm not naive to what she's capable of. All right, Awalry, the one who's been asking me how dare you the whole video. really wants Parasaur Jess in S tier. And we talked about this prior to recording. So to catch everybody up, because I like to explain this as though you guys know nothing, because some noobs watch my videos and you might enjoy this explanation. I know. Parasaur Jess gives you 7.2% of your max health when you use an ability. And that is not reliant on Blast from the Past being active. She is a dinosaur. She does activate the team perk, but that means phase shift. When you can spam phase shift a lot, and she can constantly heal you. It's very useful. I actually threw together a loadout. This is kind of a freebie for you guys while we were talking about this prior to recording, and this is kind of what I came up with. You got Ranger Deadeye, really good Outlander. I supercharged him for the Teddy and Seismic Smash damage. He's got phase shift, of course. Blast from the Past build because we're using Parasaur Jess, and 7.2% of max health is 3 times higher when you have Blast from the Past active, so the more health you have, the better she is. Iza's insane. You don't need Iza. This is kind of a running around, flying around the map build, so you could probably throw in, you know, Rex Jonesy, but this is just for the sake of conversation. We commented that Rex Jonesy's 3% of your health isn't that much, and Coconut's, the damage part, isn't that insane either, so Parasaur Jess in support means you can run Chaos Agent so that you are healing yourself and instantly reloading your weapon when you're low on ammo. You can run, you know, a little bit of assault crit damage from Sledgehammer. Pro tip, by the way, Sledgehammer is overall higher base stats than, let me see, Beetle Jess. So he's actually just better than Beetle Jess, even though they essentially have the exact same ability. She gives you pistol and SMG crit damage. He gives you SMG and assault weapon damage. So I'm assuming you're using an SMG in this build because that pairs best with Chaos Agent, but just know that pistols are another option. And then, of course, we got Gunblazer in support. So in specific loadouts where you're maximizing the utilization of phase shift, Soaring Instinct can be really good. And I only say phase shift because it's kind of the only ability in the game that can really make her super viable. I guess grenades and kunai spam are good as well, but I will give her an easy A tier bump. Again, I'm just leaving all the Teddy stuff in a row. I'll just put her in low A tier. It doesn't really matter. They're all A tier. They're equal in my eyes. She is extremely useful if utilized properly, but I'm going to have to disagree with Aori on the S tier there. Look at the amount of A and S tier heroes. I'm telling you, Outlanders are super strong. All right, Pathfinder Jess. She gives you a massive damage bonus to pickaxes, 50% more damage. And if you've seen gameplay where you're using her, where I was using her in my farming loadouts video, you can like two-shot trees and rocks, and it's super useful. In my opinion, she is kind of an all-in-one hero, and she's base game. So if you're brand new to the game, you're not going to have Stealthy, Arc Jess, and Clip here. You're just not going to have these S-tier farming heroes. Pathfinder Jess has the phase shift to get around, the anti-material charge to break stuff instantly, and that extra pickaxe damage makes her just an all-in-one fantastic hero. I will actually put her in S tier, unironically. She gets, again, once you get later on in the game, she gets outclassed by a proper farming loadout, but if you're new to the game, Pathfinder Jess could be one of the first heroes you pick up, and she is just great for getting started. So I'm going to say S tier. I know as a late game player, she's kind of pointless to me, but if you're just starting and she's your only option, or if you want to farm, but you also want to be useful, and instead of a bunch of support perks with farming heroes, you want damage perks, she could be a great pick. So there you go. Now, we got an interesting pick here. This is Phase Scout Jess. She is actually a mythic Outlander that gives you the team perk for that shifting gears I mentioned earlier. That team perk is, of course, factored into my decision here, and the fact that it's a really good team perk makes her solid. I don't think phase shift charges as much as I've given credit to phase shift. It's a very good ability on its own. You don't necessarily need the charges. I'm going to allow her to populate the B tier next to our other mythic hero. It's a good team perk. She gives you an extra charge with phase shift. It's not super insane, but it's nice to have. Ragnarok, going to put him right next to the other Seismic Smash hero. He just sends it back and forth. It's not super serious. I'm just going to leave that where it is. Ranger Deadeye. You might have noticed I supercharged him. Yeah, that's an easy S tier hero. He is insanely good. That 50% damage is nuts, and he also has a Teddy and shifting, and phase shift to get her on the map, and a Seismic Smash, which is super strong. I know, seriously, Dark Out, I stand by it. Definitely an S tier hero. Ranger Deadeye is nuts. I believe this is Recon Scout Eagle Eye. That is a 30% movement speed bonus. Let me double check that because I haven't used this hero in a long time. Recon Scout Eagle Eye is 30% movement speed. Again, useful, nice to have. B tier, definitely a good hero. Don't forget she exists, but not not a game-defining hero in my opinion. I also believe this is Shock Specialist AC. No, there was a hero that was identical to her. We might get down to that later on. There could be a couple of repeats in here. Just wanted to mention that in advance. This is, what is her name? Shock Blaster Buzz. I found out that she is Shock Tower Impact, which is going to be joining Red Willow in the F tier. I don't actually have a copy of her. That is how bad she is. I have her in the collection book and nowhere else. I don't care because Shock Tower already has a really good impact. It doesn't need more, and she is very useless. I'm just gonna leave her down there. Shock Specialist AC, I always forget. I probably already checked. He's like, let me find out. Shock Specialist AC. What am I missing here? Do I not have a copy of him? There we go. Shock Tower damage. Okay, that's actually better than I thought. We're gonna put him in C tier. Definitely a don't forget about him hero, but Shock Tower does pretty good damage, and I'm actually going to mention Wild Fragment Deadeye because he gives Shock Tower affliction damage, which on average is just more overall damage. It's just over time instead of instant. I think these two are really good. Shock Tower is a great support perk. It could be B tier if you're running a Cyberclops build. I don't want to water down how good Shock Tower is. I'm going to use them to populate the C tier, but trust me, it could be B tier depending on your mood. I don't know. They're both very good. This is Shotgunner Grizzly. Okay, why do I always forget? Yeah, dashing through enemies stuns them. It's useful, extremely niche. You don't usually need it. D tier. If he's what you need, great pick, but in the overarching whole of the game, I think D tier is probably a pretty good spot for him. All right, Teddy Laser Beams. I saw a lot of people defending Stare Down Stealthy a lot in the Discord. Every 2 seconds, getting a little bit of energy damage is pretty not great. I'm gonna put him in like high C tier, but I'm not convinced. You know what? No, that's right next to Cottontail. I know how much damage she does, and I know how much Shock Tower. No, I'm putting him in D tier. It's nice. It's some extra damage, but there are so many other Teddy options that it's just not a good pick. So this is what happens when you record right after eating an entire sandwich, and I'm burping a lot. So yeah, it was a good sandwich. Steel Anthony, typically if I don't know what they do, this is a bad sign. Oh yeah, Seismic Smash leaves a pulsing bit of damage at the end. Yeah, I'm gonna put him in, honestly, I'm gonna put him in F tier. Okay, it's not that much damage, and it's super improbable that any enemy is just gonna be at the end of your Seismic Smash for long enough for him to do anything. Typically, Seismic Smash has a pretty good impact along with the damage, and it's just sending enemies away. It's not very useful. It's super hard to get any real practical use out of him, and I think F tier is perfectly fine. Striker AC is going to be S tier easily. Oh, wait. It's not 2018. Yeah. So, I believe... What is he doing nowadays? What is Striker AC up to? I don't even think I have a copy of him on hand. Oh, what a bad sign. Oh, we're off to a bad start. Just for those who remember how good Striker AC used to be, let's go check. I apparently don't have a copy of him, and I want to know why. Seismic Smash energy cost. That's not that bad. Seismic Smash is really strong, but it doesn't cost that much energy, and he's not really usable. I'll put him in D. It's not that serious. If you're running a Seismic Smash build, he's probably good in support, but you've got better options. Shot Jess might actually be an F hero. Do I have her in the collection? She is not this section of the collection book. She might be lower down. I do believe I have a copy of her. If I'm not mistaken, Shot is headshots converted to fragments. Yeah, every 21 headshot eliminations. Headshots are extremely inconsistent in this game, in sense of enemies are moving around constantly. It's not that easy, not that easy to hit them, and 21 is a lot for a single fragment. Typically, when you're running fragments, it's so that you don't have to shoot the enemies as often. So to make me go for headshots on top of it, yeah, I don't know of anybody who's ever seriously gotten major use out of her. If there's something I'm missing, go for it, but F tier is probably good. Wild Fragment in C.
How dare you?
I'll bump it up to B. I agree. Wild Fragment goes in the... You know what? No. I'll put him up in A. I am actually changing my mind very late here, but it's true. The amount of damage he adds to Shock Tower is paired so well with Cyberclops. I'll put him in A tier. Yeah. I'll change my mind a little later. It's super useful. I'll put him up there. Ice Queen. Ice Queen's tricky. S, I don't know about S. I don't know about S. He is a support perk, and yeah. So Ice Queen freezes enemies with Shock Tower. I'm sorry, with Seismic Smash, and that is extremely useful. She is a fantastic commander for that loadout, but that one loadout is not a meta-defining loadout as it is. I'll put her in like A tier. Very useful indeed, but not that big of a deal. And she does give extra damage to frozen enemies. So if you're using Ice King, it's a great pairing. If you're using Floor Freeze, it's a great pairing. I think that could apply to traps. Comment down in the chat if I'm wrong, but if you're running Floor Freeze traps, which already give you a 20 or 25%, you know, Mitch Robb said 25%. My math was 20. Regardless, it gives you more damage to enemies. So if she can just stack another 14 on top of that, that's not bad. If she can buff your trap damage in that way, that's pretty good. I'll put her in A tier because she is very versatile. Braille Blaster AC. Oh goodness, why do I always forget? Why do I not know what you do? Oh yes, Shock Tower for half an extra second. That's like one more zap. I'll put him in D tier. It's not that useful. It's I don't know about that. I believe this is a reskin hero. Who is this, chat? Can you comment down below? This is stuck in here. It's a founder's skin, I think. I don't know exactly what she does. I think it's the Recon Scout. Okay, so we'll put her right next to Recon Scout. I don't remember which one Rescout is. So many of these heroes look so similar. I don't even know. Oh goodness, I'm blind. That's not Recon Scout, is it? It is. Okay, yeah, we'll put them in the same spot. All right, Quinn. We're gonna put her up right under Gumshoe. So Quinn gives you extra damage and fire rate to your Teddy in the lead. However, she also only gives you 30% in support to the Teddy. So in my logic, that 30% to the Teddy is only to the Teddy and not the Shock Tower as well. I am blind. Where is she? Come on. I was supposed to pull this up quickly. There you go. Teddy damage. It's nice, really nice. I use her in almost every Teddy loadout, but the fact that Gumshoe does Teddy and Shock Tower just is better. So yeah, easy A tier, but that's it. We're gonna put Buzz in an easy B tier. She reduces gadget cooldown. It's outclassed by any good loadout in the end game, but if you're a new player, she's a great pick. Valkyrie gives you, I believe, Seismic Smash. No. It gives you anti-material charge impact. That's F, easy. Very useless hero. Vanguard Stealthy is Seismic Smash cooldown. Very useful. More than you might think. I'm actually putting him in A tier, and you might think I'm joking, but in the lead, the Seismic Smash is a 3-second cooldown, and Seismic Smash is very strong. He's definitely a lower A tier. I know that like the specific ordering doesn't matter as much like I mentioned, but if it did, there's a reason he's on the far right. It's useful. Not a game-defining ability, mind you, but very useful. Valkyrie is a great pick for Teddy. I'll put her up here right next to Fragment, Deadeye. She essentially gives you... is that Valkyrie? No, that's... what is Ventura Ramirez? There you go. I've been using her because she gives you an extra damage to your Teddy long range. So the further away they are, she caps out at like a 40% damage bonus. Pretty useful. It's just extra damage. Nice to have. Willow. Based on your health, gives you extra ability damage. Circumstantial, but capping out at 37.5% damage, that's a good amount of damage. You need to have low health to activate it, but I'll put her in A tier, because if utilized properly, that's really nice, but having low health is a big drawback. So, Willow sucks, I will die on this hill. That's Archer's opinion. This is my list, not his, and yeah. I think A tier is where she belongs, and Zenith. Zenith has some serious fanboys. For those who don't know, he makes it so that crit hits from snipers freeze enemies in the lead, and that's pretty good. It's fun. Not a game-defining, insanely strong thing to be doing, but you can freeze smashers. So it's funny how this is how I've always said it. I personally don't like Zenith, and I don't use him that often. I don't think he is a perfect loadout because you have to use a sniper, which most fast-firing snipers aren't that good. Crankshot and Vacuum Tube Sniper are the two main ones for him. You can use him with bows, but you won't be critting nearly as often as a faster-firing sniper. That said, while I don't personally run him, I have appreciated a teammate using Zenith to freeze enemies, every time. So I'll put him in A tier just to recognize his potential as a support perk. If you have someone like Awari here running that, she was running it in Frost Knight, and stopping smashers frozen in their tracks was really useful. So I see his utility, even if I'm only putting him in A tier. That is a 30-minute recording, just like I feared. Outlanders have a lot to talk about. They are, you know what? Mark my words. Outlanders are the most versatile heroes in the entire game. Their abilities are awesome. None of them are useless. Teddy is insanely strong. Phase Shift is fantastic. Seismic Smash is really good. Shock Tower is really good as well. You can farm with them. So they are your farming heroes, your ability heroes, as much as like ninjas are your ability heroes usually, but you know, they buff melees. So I'm thinking, while they do nothing to buffing your constructor build, I'm saying that the right Outlander loadout can feel like a ninja. You can run Beetle Jess or Ranger Deadeye to be a soldier. By the way, these two are nearly identical and should reflect that on the list. You can be a soldier because they buff your SMG damage, which is nuts. Or you could be an Outlander going around farming, and they're so good. Outlanders, none of these, I'm sorry, most of these aren't useless. D and F tier can kind of get forgotten about, but everything C and up has a place in this game, and they might be my favorite class. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment down below what you guys want to see next. If you disagreed with anything, please be nice about it. My goodness, some people are rude. This is just my opinion, okay? I'll see you guys in the next one, and have a nice day.